Over to you, Vidya and Naveen.
Samir and Bhaskar, thank you so much for a warm introduction. Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Naveen Yeri. I'm really pleased to be here talking about the ongoing discussions about generative AI and offer my thoughts. I have a good friend of mine, Vidya Veeraraghavan, here.
Hi everyone, I'm Vidya Veeraraghavan. I would like to begin today's topic, really a hot one, generative AI. I would like to probably ask a few questions to Naveen, and Naveen, we can have a discussion around this generative AI and the journey around it. I'm very curious to know, you part of Wells Fargo for a bit of time now. What do you think the journey is going to be from AI to Gen AI? How is it going to be?
I think in the last 23 years, I've been in the banking and analytics. Probably this is the most exciting time. I feel like I'm headed into a second innings in my career, and I'm sure a lot of my friends will agree to that. If you compare the genesis of analytics or advanced analytics or artificial intelligence, I think we have all been in the catch-up mode. Either the data was catching up, the computer bandwidth was catching up, or the business was not warmed up to accept. But I think all these forces are coming together for a perfect storm, and the heightened realization is real that if you don't do it, you'll be antiquated. And there are a number of examples where the industry hasn't caught up and they have vanished. And there are a number of examples in the last 6 months or so where companies are doing it right and their share prices are going up and up and up and not looking south at all. That is one signal. The second thing is AI itself, we thought that it was a hype, but a lot of us, we have patience, we have commitment, feel pretty strongly about it. But generative AI is something very promising. I think a lot of things need to come together pretty well for this to work. But the journey from AI to generative AI is not going to be easy. We have to manage the hype. We need to manage the cost. We need to manage the energy consumption, and also make sure that the human is in the loop all the time. So that's my perspective. So Vidya, let me think about a question for you, since you work for Standard Chartered. From a technology standpoint, when you think about generative AI, what are those use cases that you are looking at? What are those opportunities that the business are coming to you with and asking for solutions? I would say screaming for solutions.
Yeah, it has given quite a hype, Naveen. You're quite right. A lot of business and functions are looking for solutions now that they have heard about generative AI and the power that it can bring to the solutioning. They have started asking about how I can solve the problem using generative AI. To be very specific, I come from a fraud, a financial crime, AML background, right? So I see that would be the topmost business use case that can be solved immediately with generative AI. Although it has not kicked in, in many of the banks because of a lot of other reasons, but the immediate solutions that we can find is on the fraud detection. Let me put it this way. So generative adversarial networks, which is a part of the deep learning, unsupervised learning, is actually a good solution for detecting fraud. In fact, Swedbank is using GAN extensively to detect financial frauds by using massive GPUs and large data. So the solution goes like this. So there is something called a generator. There's something called a discriminator. These work in competitive process to create a situation where generator creates synthetic data, mostly the fraudulent data, and discriminator is trying to distinguish that fraudulent data between the synthetic and the real data. So this is how it is quite capable of learning on its own. By comparing the synthetic transactions with the genuine data, the GAN can actually learn to identify suspicious transactions more effectively. So this is how generative AI can immediately help us. Having said that, there are a few roadblocks that we see around the regulations along the responsible AI field. That is where we find it a little difficult to move forward. But having said that, we do have a picture of 2030. There is going to be at least 40% CAGR increment that we are going to see. So this is definitely going to be as part of it. So I would say that fraud detection is the one use case which is very easily attainable. So people should start looking at it in that way. So let me ask you this: although this is not much different from what AI that we have seen in the industry, there is definitely a talent which has to be probably upscaled or probably nourished, or you probably have to find somebody in the market. So what do you think the industry should look forward to? Are they going to upskill their own people, or are they going to look for the talent in the market to start with the generative AI or speed up the process? What do you think, Naveen?
Fantastic question, Vidya. Thank you so much. I think about this problem in 3 steps. Let's think about a bank or an airline or a telecom company, and let's think about the outermost fringe of their customer service. They do talk to the customer service using, customers do call them with the toll-free numbers, or they send emails, chatbots, what have you. There can be many channels. So when the human is in the loop, the customers are connected with the humans, and humans use the intelligence that their companies provide. With generative AI, that human will be taken off from this chain. So there's a missing link, which means that customers are directly connected with the intelligence systems of the bank, of the airline, or the telecom company, or the hospital, what have you. So this presents a huge risk that you alluded to as well from a fraud, cybersecurity standpoint. But most importantly, the humans who have taken a step back, we may not need thousands of them, because any repeatable task will be automated. Anything new will be generated. Anything interpretable will be summarized with these really awesome futuristic systems. Sounds sci-fi, but it is real, right? So from a talent standpoint, what should one think about, and including all of us who are talking and listening at this forum, is that we need to think about how do we associate our thinking process to the business value, keep that North Star alive all the time, and anchor your shortest distance to the North Star all the time. Continuously reskill with not only the buzzwords of today, but the foundations of yesterday as well. The foundations of statistics and the economics and the math and the sciences and the biology and the psychology and the social sciences. That's super important, because the trends or the perspectives may change, but the foundational building blocks would not. You hit on a very important point as well, which is the regulatory policies. We live in a much more connected world where information liquidity is at the highest. So now when you see US, UK, Canada, Australia, India, China, we are all thinking about coming up with our own responsible AI policies. But there are very few consortiums which are taking a look at a connected scale or a larger scale. But when we look at our multinational companies, our customers are not siloed to India, US, UK, Australia, or China, right? So we are all global citizens. So I see a need. And also the reason why talent upskilling is important, because the talent of tomorrow need to be aware of these challenges. So
let me go a little deeper there, Naveen. I actually think you hit a right point. The basic skills should be thoroughly understood, and we need to probably go back to school and understand those basics, the basics of programming, the basics of statistics. Even the machine learning and deep learning have been in existence for a long time. But now that we are connecting with the large language models, and the API becomes an important piece of information which probably a programmer would not use much. But now that they have to connect with the open source, like your GPTs, then probably you would probably connect your systems to those, right? So API becomes one of the important learning aspects, in my opinion. Now that we have discussed probably about the technical part of it, I would also probably put in some of the soft skills which have to be nourished. It is more to do with connecting the problem. So in my experience, when you connect technology with the business appropriately, that becomes your problem solving skills, and also your communication skills. How do you communicate with the business? How do you manage your stakeholders? Working as a team, of course, and also being influencing and also being resourceful. I think all these, although we call them soft skills, these are life skills. They have to be definitely as part of the learning process. But specifically, if you ask me, I recently read this article where Andrew Ng, the deeplearning.ai founder, has actually introduced a couple of free courses, which will specifically focus on the generative AI part. So if I think the listeners can look them up. This is in conjunction with LangChain, OpenAI, and Lamini. So the courses are like this: building systems with the ChatGPT API, how diffusion models work, LangChain for LLM application development. These are the three courses which are available free of cost in deeplearning.ai, which immediately can be accessed by the listeners today. Let's probably look at one piece of advice, Naveen. What would that one piece of advice you would like to give to listeners today in regards to the journey of generative AI? May I ask you that first?
Absolutely. I think in my mind, it is very simple. Keep your focus on the business value and the customer delight. And with those things in mind, any of these topics, tools, sophisticated technologies would just become the how. And just because you have a hammer, don't look for nails.
Well said, Naveen. In my mind, I think we are going through this journey. There is no stopping. It is actually going to be very useful for us. But I would also say that whatever we are generating, whether it is AI or Gen AI or LLM or foundation models, be responsible and be ethically viable when you create a solution. That would be my piece of advice, because that is at most, even though you put in a lot of efforts, when it goes to that area where the responsible AI is kicking it out just because it is not fitting the bill, that would be a disaster. So let's focus on being doing the right thing at the first time itself. That's my piece of advice.
Well said, Vidya. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naveen. Nice talking to you. And thanks to
Likewise.
listeners as well.
Thank you. Thanks for 3AI for hosting us. Have a good one.